Come in, brave warriors. Can you hear me? This is Ash, and this frequency has been reserved for viewers who wish to see an unboxing of the tactical espionage action game Metal Gear Solid, the board game, Integral Edition, a game by Emerson Matsuuchi, published by CMON, and licensed by Konami Digital Entertainment. The box is much taller than I thought it would be, but once you see what's inside, all of that will make sense. Your code name for this mission will be Snake. Cardboard Snake. Snake, this board game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 plus, and will take between 60 and 90 minutes to play per session. CMON really said, let's continue making board games based on popular PlayStation games. Let me bring you up to speed. Foxhound members have captured the nuclear weapons disposal facility Shadow Moses and have threatened to launch nuclear weapons should their demands not be met. Your mission? Infiltrate Shadow Moses and take down the terrorist group before a nuclear war befalls the world. Metal Gear Solid, the board game, features iconic characters from the Metal Gear franchise in this cooperative, tabletop experience of tactical espionage action. Infiltrate and navigate the hallways of Shadow Moses through its 14-mission campaign. Sneaking missions feature a robust stealth system where players attempt to stay out of the guard's sights or risk engaging in combat, while boss missions pit you against familiar adversaries from the series. Stay sharp out there. Now, despite the official description on the back of the box, this isn't going to feature characters from the series or the franchise. This is specifically featuring characters, scenarios, and plot threads from the first game, Metal Gear Solid. Yes, some of the characters are recurring in other games, but don't let this mislead you into thinking that Raiden is hiding out somewhere here. The Integral Edition of this game, which was a crowdfund exclusive, comes with a Metal Gear Rex miniature. If you didn't get that and are buying this retail, then you'll still have Metal Gear Rex in the form of an oversized token. And your box will probably be shorter, I'm guessing. Otherwise, the game comes with 5 character figures, 5 boss figures, 12 guard figures, 2 cardboard box figures, 1 Metal Gear Rex figure, 16 double-sided tiles, 4 player dashboards, 6 boss dashboards, 1 guard dashboard, 171 cards, 2 25 tokens, 1 boss tracker, 1 rule book, 1 campaign book, 1 VR missions book, 1 codec book, and 15 dice. By the way, the back of this box pays homage to the back of the original PlayStation Jewel game case. If you remember the secret, then you'll appreciate what we find on the back of the box, but I won't spoil that here for you now. Instead, let's lift up the lid and enter Shadow Moses Island. The one opportunity, the one game that I would expect there to be a secret somewhere under the box lid, and there's nothing. I'm constantly let down by everybody. Introducing the Integral Edition, your copy of Metal Gear Solid, the board game, comes with the following 2 items that are unique to the Integral Edition of the board game. This exclusive Metal Gear Rex figure replaces its cardboard tile from the standard edition with a fully realized Rex sculpt and a fully illustrated 148-page graphic novel detailing the beats of the Shadow Moses campaign, illustrated by Kenneth Lowe. You can get a free digital VR mission here. Next up, the guard dashboard. This is double-sided. The guard order deck and the guard reaction deck, as well as the active guard order card and active guard reaction cards, are here. Defense of 3, health of 2, 2 attack, black dice. You'll see references to codecs throughout the game and all sorts of materials. These refer to the Codec book, which actually gives you an incredible way to experience the flavor of the storyline. Next up, we've got our hero dashboards. One side is just lore. Here, I've decided to turn off the effect so you can actually see the colors of stuff. Sorry about that. This is Snake, Solid Snake's dashboard. All just lore, living legend, and former Foxhound elite, Solid Snake was tasked to find Gray Fox, an agent who went missing in the rogue nation Outer Heaven. Written in his final transmission was a concern about a new weapon called Metal Gear. I retired to Alaska to leave the deception and lies in the past. The other side gives us all of the actions that Snake can perform. A noise check, a sneak attack, a knock, interaction, dash, sneak, hand-to-hand attack, drag body, combo attack. Pretty much everything that we would need to pay homage to Solid Snake himself. Next up, we've got Meryl Silverberg. Hard work, discipline, and dedication to your training is the key to the future as a soldier. That's what I used to believe. Anyways, regarded as strong and bold, she was soon recruited by Foxhound, the organization that she had always dreamed of being a part of. Meryl's stuff is here on the back of her board. And then we've got Otacon. Science has always thrived on war. The greatest weapons of mass destruction were created by scientists who wanted to be famous. That's all over now. I won't take part in murder anymore. Yes, Otacon counts as a hero in this game. as does Gray Fox, otherwise known as Ninja. And this board is double-sided because you will actually be fighting against a ninja as well, as you may expect. Our other boss dashboards are here with all of the familiar faces from the first game: Revolver Ocelot, Vulcan Raven in the tank, the helicopter gunship known as the Hind, piloted by Liquid Snake, Psycho Mantis, and Liquid Snake. The health of the bosses is determined by the number of players. For example, if there is 1 player, then the boss will have 2 health. If there are 4 players, the boss will have 5. Interesting scaling going on here. Next up, we have our tiles, which are lovingly packaged. So let's lovingly unpackage them. The tiles are pretty easy to pop out. I would say just handling these, a lot of the stuff is going to pop right out. Some of these tiles will go onto the map and act as overlays, providing important modifications to the maps that exist for the requirements of the mission. Look at this. We've got an elevator, and again, you will see references to the Codex again in the Codec book, which we'll go over in just a second. I tell you, the Codec book is such an amazing idea. Good for the first time you play, good for every time you play with new players, and actually a great way to set up solo play. We've got the exit, we've got security cameras, we've got markers. I see Sniper Wolf. More tiles. This is a second sheet of tiles. This time we've got the characters with question marks over them. We've got gears. We've got file folders. A, B, C, D. Lots of things that could mean a lot of different things depending. Some locks on some computers with some dice shown above them. Perhaps these are ways to unlock what's going on. Maybe there are ways to unlock the content in them ahead of time. More tiles featuring the characters. Whoops. We just popped the tank right out. Vulcan Raven's tank unfortunately doesn't get its own mini, but I imagine that you will be able to 3D print a tank from somewhere to replace this one. And actually, I would be doing the same thing with the Hind. I think the Hind deserves its own miniature. We get now into the boards. This is how where the game is actually played. We have pretty cool recreations of the heliport, the blast furnace, multiple tiles for each. We've got the laboratory here, another heliport tile, the interrogation room, another heliport tile, the holding cells, the prison cells, the armory, a map simply called Sniper Wolf, and the numbers on the map which pretty clearly indicate that this is going to be very heavy in the gameplay department. 2 more snowfield tiles, warehouse tiles on the opposite side. Obviously, these are going to all be used together to give you a larger map. The nuke building, B1. The Metal Gear platform. Nuke building, B2. Metal Gear platform, B. Looks like this is where we're going to face off against the big bad. Nuke building, L1. The underground base, 12B, which is security, and the commander's room. So Psycho Mantis gets his own tile on which to have a boss fight. Love it. Next up, we have the Shadow Moses campaign for 1 to 4 players. Wait a minute, there are more tiles hiding beneath the book. We've got Ocelot Stage, VR-01, the helicopter gunship, and VR-02. Here is the Metal Gear tile. He's looking pretty flat. The comms tower roof, and the nuke building truck. That's it for the tiles. Next up, we have the Shadow Moses campaign for 1 to 4 players. Again with the lovingly unpackaging. This is a pretty thick book, and it has our graphic novel inside. So I think this book would look a little bit different if it came with the retail edition. It would be the same book, but it would be a lot thinner. It would basically still have all of the rules portions to tell you how the stages play out, but I think obviously it would not have any of the graphic novel portions. Next up, we've got the rule book, the VR missions book, also 1 to 4 players, and the Codex book. All right, finally time to start talking about the Codex. Every time you see a reference to a codec on a gameplay piece that is brought into play, or something that gets activated, rather, you can consult the Codex book, and you'll get a bit of flavor text. I don't want any of this to be spoiled because all of this has to do with story beats and expressions that the characters give and hints that they give to defeat the current boss, and a lot of it is done in a really impressive way. CMON really handled the meta capabilities of the Metal Gear Solid franchise well in how they did this. But each one of these codec passages is given its own sort of address. So let's say you come up on 207, which I'll read. This is Colonel Campbell. They're all color-coded because they're all different frequencies. And Colonel Campbell, who has an amazing voice, and every time I read anything in this character's voice, I can hear it in my mind, says, "Watch out, Snake. After you attack Raven when he's not facing you, he'll turn in your direction. You'll have a chance to take cover, but if you complete any actions while in his line of sight, he'll get the chance to attack you. You should take cover after he turns to face you to avoid his attacks." Love that. The VR missions book is kind of like a little expansion in its own right. It comes with 5 VR missions that you can play. Again, 1 to 4 players. It details the setup of each of the VR missions, and these VR missions will use the VR boards in addition to the regular gameplay boards in a simulated context, a virtually realitied simulation, and our rulebook, which teaches you how to play the game. Guards have different modes, different statuses that they are in: alert mode, investigate mode, patrol mode. There are clarifications that a guard will always take the shortest path, or the one with the fewest number of spaces between 2 spaces on the map that does not cross obstacles like walls or locked doors. Guards can leapfrog over other guards. There are plenty of examples in the book as well to get you up and running quickly. Next up, we have the dice. Nothing too special here. White dice and black dice. The black dice have normal pips. We've also got a single red cube, but the white dice, instead of ones, have the classic alert symbol. And this is another image you can hear because it sounds like, "Ring." Not sure why I did that. I had the sound effect. We've got our decks of cards yet, as well as this box, which is the memory box. And it looks just like a memory card, which is just genius. A classic PlayStation memory card. It's got its own codec reference, but you can store your cards in here to save your game. Just don't go trying to plug this into your PlayStation. As you can imagine, we've got all manner of cards here, but in a world first for the channel, I'm not going to look at any of them because I have a feeling you want to see the miniatures. And that's what we'll spend the time doing. We've got 2, count them, 2 plastic trays to lift up to expose the miniatures. And this is pretty much all we get. There's not a ton of miniatures that come with the game, and to be honest, there doesn't have to be a ton of miniatures that comes with Metal Gear Solid. All the important characters are represented here. We've got 2 different guards. The guards look great. The scale is just fantastic. The details are just stellar. Everything that you could possibly want. The rumple of the clothes here bunched up above the boots. They're immediately recognizable. They've got directional arrows on their themed decorative 3D sculpted bases that show kind of where they would have been had you encountered them in the video game. The object of the game is to not fight a bunch of guards, it's to stay stealthy. So we don't need a ton of enemies, and plus there's not like a huge amount of enemies in the video game anyway. Just a handful of them is enough to really ruin your day. Next up, we've got Snake sneaking in a cardboard box. You can see the little feet poking out as you are running him across the board, hoping that nobody recognizes you. We'll look at the bosses in order now. We're going to go from Revolver Ocelot.
Speak no more of the revolver. Sometimes I feel like you say the word revolver just because you like the word revolver. No.
Got a bunch of junk around his feet because of where he's hiding out, shooting at you with his twin revolvers. These minis are very stiff. I would not call them brittle, but they don't have a lot of bend to them, so I wouldn't apply too much force, you might break them. Revolver Ocelot looks amazing. You can even tell from his face shape who he is. Those high cheekbones, that regal mustache, white hair flowing in the wind of the bullets ricocheting off of the walls. Vulcan Raven is up next, and his ammunition here is just incredible. His presence is super imposing. You won't fight this guy early on, at least not in this form. He's actually a later boss in the video game, but first you'll fight him inside of a huge tank. Then he's looking very much forward to facing off with you if you beat him while he's in the tank. Guy looks incredible. I love this miniature. Next up is Ninja, who is gray, possibly because he's Gray Fox, but also because he plays a couple of different roles. He is an antagonist, he is sort of a tritagonist. Details on him are fantastic, and you will certainly be able to paint him up faithfully to match his video game counterpart. That goes for all of the figures here. I'm tongue-tied. I love how these guys look. Hal Emmerich, aka Otacon for Otaku Convention, is up next with his laptop, likely trying to hack into something to help Solid Snake. We can see rations at his feet, as well as a puddle. Interpret the puddle how you like, but most of us who've played the game remember why there's a puddle there. We've also got this guard, this strange Strange guard. Why is this one here? Why is it blue? Why does it look a little bit different from the rest? Why are its hips just a little bit wider? That would be because it's Meryl in disguise. And when she comes out of disguise, she's got her own dynamic, awesome, tough-looking miniature. Detailed in just about every way she was in the video game.
Anyway, how did you recognize me in disguise?
I never forget a lady.
So there's something you like about me, huh?
Yeah, you got a great butt.
Got some rocks and stuff below, perhaps denoting her presence in the cave area after the fight with one of the game's favored characters, Psycho Mantis. Psycho Mantis is pretty incredible, and his fight is represented in an equally great, creative, and meta way here in the game. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but the Codex will definitely help you out. Here we see him poised above the remnants of a desk that has just been trashed. There's a statue, bust, a couple of books, urns, it looks like, goblets more like, or vases rather. There we go. They're vases, Ash. They're just vases. There were supposed to be flowers in them. Bunch of junk underneath. You'll face this guy in the commander's office.
Optic camouflage, huh? I hope that's not your only trick.
You doubt my power? Now, I will show you why I am the most powerful practitioner of psychokinesis and telepathy in the world. No, there's no need for words, Snake. I'm Psycho Mantis.
And it won't be long after you'll meet Sniper Wolf. Sniper Wolf is, as the name suggests, a long-range sniper who understands her bullets. She sends them as love letters to her victims.
Snake, are you okay? Otacon, were there any other stealth prototypes? No, there were only 5. So, this isn't stealth camouflage then? What are you talking about? Someone's aiming at me in the middle of this blizzard. It's her!
I can see you perfectly from here. I told you, I'd never quit the hunt. Now you're mine.
Really love Sniper Wolf's character. It was really cool to see her in the sculpt in this game. I would have rioted had she not been included though. Liquid Snake is up next. You're gonna have a lot of fun painting those abs. He is shown here as we see him illustrated in the video game's manual. His silhouette is immediately recognizable. He is the big bad of Metal Gear Solid. Well, that is if you don't count Metal Gear Rex. Metal Gear Rex is an enormous sculpt. It's bigger than it has any right to be, but still not quite to scale. The game comes with a couple of extra pieces that you can put onto this mini to complete its build. They've even got their own protective spaces in the miniature tray that comes with the game. This includes its railgun, and this thing is worthy enough to display on your desk, on your shelf. This is the definitive Metal Gear Rex miniature. Oh, I'm sure there are a couple of things out there that represent Metal Gear Rex at a slightly larger scale, and maybe you'll even want to use one of those toys to represent this enemy, but it's important to use this one because it's got the correct number of tiles worth of size on its base so that you can actually use it in the game the way it was intended. The gun here, don't make the mistake of thinking that it rotates. It does not. It is tilted slightly off axis and makes you kind of want to adjust it, but that's solid. This is one solid piece if you don't count these 2 attachments. Wish there was a way to store it with the attachments back into the box, but it doesn't look like that was the intention at all. But that's fine. We'll take him apart and he'll last a long, long time in the box as such. The one miniature that I wanted to show off last was Solid Snake himself. Presented here with his SCOM, handgun, the silencer attached, presumably, bandana flowing in the wind, a cardboard box, and a ration at his feet. Finely detailed miniature. Looks like no expense was spared to make sure that this guy was accurately described in 3D form. Looking all over him though, he does seem to be missing his trademark pack of smokes. Probably a better idea to exclude those from his sculpt. Or perhaps they're still, you know, where they were when he smuggled them through. We've got lovely art of the characters on the sides of the box, bottom tray, and this goes on to detail all of the bosses as well as the good guy characters. If you'd like to avoid a spoiler while you are unpackaging and unboxing all of this stuff, do not lift up the character tray. Don't worry. During the events of the game, you will be directed to do that. You won't miss anything. We'll just call it another meta surprise. I don't totally agree that all of this vertical real estate was necessary to be able to store all this stuff, but I guess that's because I haven't actually taken out the cards and distributed them amongst the trays and everything where they were meant to be. So I guess I'll withhold judgment on that for now. Hopefully everything is easy to pick up from and continue playing from your last session. But I'm really happy that this game recreates faithfully the events of the first game, seemingly in their entirety. I would love to get more miniatures of characters like the DARPA chief, obviously the Hind, the tank, but having said that, I think I just named all of the miniatures that were left, other than, of course, the wolves. There really aren't a whole lot of other entities in the game. Oh no, the frequency has been compromised. Cardboard Snake, I leave you to the rest. But a few more tips before you go. It will greatly help you in your mission if you click the subscribe button below this video. If you've already done that, make sure that you like this video and place a comment down below. Don't worry, your identity won't be compromised to the enemy, and this frequency will still remain confidential. I'm going to end the transmission, otherwise this video will self-destruct. If you succeed, maybe we'll see each other again. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now. Hold it right there, Cardboard Snake. I'm not done with this unboxing yet. We still need to look at the cards. I'm taking over. What a joke of an unboxing that was. We're gonna look at all the stuff that he didn't show you. For example, I've already punched out all of the tiles in use. All of the wound markers and hits will go in the upper left. All of the weapons and missiles, C4 and grenades and the like, will go in the bottom left. The bottom right will have all of the tiles that have character names or faces on them, while the upper right have common room components such as doors and tripwires. Next, everything else went into the center console. Except for that joke of a Metal Gear Rex tile, I just stored that under the entire box, because it doesn't fit anywhere. The gear you unlock will go into this memory box, and don't forget to check the codec frequency on the front as soon as you look at it. It's kind of like the game. As soon as you discover it, you lose. Except in this game, you win. All of your unlocked equipment goes into this memory box, and you can take it with you in future missions. Doesn't matter what it is. There are a lot of cards here, and there's no sortation in the box, unfortunately. But that's nothing to worry about. These cards are guard reaction cards. The guards have their own AI. From hey, wake up, to nothing, to whose footprints are these? This is how you replicate the guard behaviors from the video game. Believe it or not, all of the bosses have their own decks as well. From Revolver Ocelot, who has a reload card in addition to his other cards, to the tank, which was an M1 by the way. Refer to it by its proper name. Show some respect to the equipment. The Cyborg Ninja, the Psycho Mantis, and the helicopter gunship, which of course was called the Hind. Wolf is here as well, as is Raven. And we can't forget Metal Gear Rex, who also has a small deck of special cards. My favorite is Missile Volley. We have starting equipment for the 4 heroes. That way you always know what you're supposed to start with. But don't even think about shuffling the equipment deck. Otherwise, you'll be doing a lot of searching as you go through trying to find the specific equipment that the game tells you to find. There were actually 2 decks of guard order cards. One's just a little more alert than the other. Finally, you have a number of reference cards and special action cards. These system cards will be in use depending on your situation and the scenario in which you find yourself. They're all important, but you're not going to have to worry about that now because you've let me intercept your transmission long enough. I've hacked into your mainframe, and now you've failed your mission.